First, I created the layout for my navigation menu. I used the nav tab to hold all the content of the navigation menu itself. I then used an image tag that will hold the company logo because the logo isn't just a simple typeface. For the navigation links, I used an unordered list to contain all the list items of the nav menu itself. For my general about component, I broke it up into articles. Each article contains an image, a header 5 tag for the title of each section, and a paragraph containing the information for each section. I then created a wrapper div to hold all the articles. I did this because if you look at the actual website, the website only extends so far, so I created a wrapper in order to limit how wide the content would actually go. For the About People component, I used the article tag to contain each employee and their information. Inside each article is an image tag containing their picture. I then created a div called Tint. The purpose of this div is to create the tinted look when the user hovers over an image. When the user hovers over the image, the person's name, info, and links to their social media pages show up. To recreate this, I created two section tags. The first section tag contains the person's name and position. The second contains the image links that take the user to the person's social media pages. In between the two section tags, I used an HR tag to create the line you see between the person's information. The call to action was very simple. I created two image tags to hold the image of the dog and the image of the dog treats. Then I used different level header tags to hold the large text. I then used paragraph tags to display the end dashes you see in the call to action. There is then a link tag at the bottom that I will use to create the button at the bottom of the call to action. For the contact form, I first created an article tag to hold the form. I did this because if you look at the website, it is broken up into different sections where each section holds a major piece of the website. Inside the article tag, I used a header 4 tag for the title section. I then created a form containing basic text, several input tags, and the text area tag for the message box. I then added a reCAPTCHA div from Google. Finally, there is a button tag to send the message. To recreate the blog component, I first used a header tag to hold header 1 and 2 tag to create the bold header look. I then created a wrapper that contains all of the blog posts. I did this because when you look at the website, the header stretches further than the posts themselves. So I needed something to contain them and set their width smaller than the header. Each blog post is contained in an article tag. This allows me to separate the site into each major piece of content. It also allows me to add the dashed lines between each post themselves. Each post is made up of a header 3 tag, a paragraph tag that holds the date posted and the author's name, and a block quote tag since each post only displays a small cutout of the actual article, and a link to the full article at the bottom. To create the login form, I first used an image tag to hold MailChimp's logo. Then I used the form tag. Within the form, there is a basic text to label each form element. There are input tags for the username and password, and link tags for the I forgot links. To recreate the show password section, I first created a label tag to label the checkbox. Then I created a checkbox input tag within the label tag. Doing this allows me to create a container for the show password section so that I can format it with CSS with ease. Finally, there are two link tags for creating an account and the trouble logging in link. To create the map component, I first created two images, one for the picture of the map itself and one for the picture of the logo for the company. I then used a section tag to contain all the information of the company that this section holds. One thing to note is that I used a span tag around the word department. I did this to allow me to change the color of the word the same way the site does. I then put an article tag around the whole component because the website breaks each part of the site into very clear sections. The newsfeed component is made up of many different links, images, and a couple of buttons. The main decision I made when creating this component is that I broke it up into sections. Doing so will allow me to group content when it needs to be, and make it easier to create the look of different sections each post contains. Finally, we have the footer component. I decided to first create two different footer tags. one to contain the image links to each of this person's social media pages, and another to hold a paragraph tag to display the text below these images and draw the border between each section. One final thing to note is I decided to use an unordered list tag to organize the image links to the social media pages.